Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, movie reviews, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. And you can also go to our website, creepinitshow.com. Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/creepinitreal. You can also follow us on Twitter at creepin_it. And you can follow us on Instagram at the Creepin' It Real Show. We're right now in a balmy, to say the least, Atlanta, Georgia. How are you doing, Christy?
Keeping warm, I guess. We totally got gypped on the snow, but it's fucking cold. That's for sure.
Yeah, that temperature is dropping really fast. I think it's going to be down in the teens tonight.
I have a quick question. You live down like in Midtown, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Are you going to rent your house out for this weekend?
No.
No?
I actually didn't even think about that.
I have a friend that just rented hers out for Saturday and Sunday night, $700 a night.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice bag to get off of that, because it's about to be a major shit show. Mm-hmm. Like in Atlantic Station, they're going to be blocking off roads because a lot of the NFL experience, like some of these concerts and things, are going to be over here. So it's been very interesting with the Super Bowl being in town. I can
only imagine. Yeah. So she's like, first of all, I'm fine, because I was like, you can stay up here. She's like, I want to get out of here. This is a win-win for me. A, I won't be down here dealing with all the crazy, and B, I'll make $1,400. I mean, plus cleaning fees. Like, she's even charging them. That's just $700 a night, and then cleaning fees. I'm like, that is insane. Insane.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice little come up.
I thought I'd ask you. You should throw your shit up on Airbnb and see if you can get a bite.
Yeah, well, I'm probably just going to take the L on that one.
Hunker down.
A little bit too late in the game. But, Moni, how's it going out in California? I'm pretty sure the weather is a little bit more favorable.
It is more favorable, and I'm actually fresh in Seattle, from Seattle as of like midnight. But I'm hearing that out here in the San Diego area, we are going to have, when you factor in wind chill, 100-degree difference between like Minnesota right now and here. So definitely, I will take the warmer weather over even Seattle, which was super fun, and what y'all are dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
It snowed for like 3 minutes today. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, go ahead. Chris.
Yeah, it did snow for 3 minutes today, so that was exciting.
Where at, North Georgia?
Yeah, where I am. Like, I looked out the window and there was snow for 3 minutes. We were very excited. We just that 3 minutes was enough for us to be like, yes, we did get some snow. So, anyway, moving on.
Yeah, all right. Well, I kind of want to dive into weird news, just mainly because there's some exciting news on the movie front. So the spiritual sequel to the 1992 horror classic Candyman is reportedly looking at Sorry to Bother You and Atlanta star Lakeith Stanfield to the new lead role. So I think I think it's kind of cool. You know, he's a weird kind of guy. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what he does with it.
They also kind of look alike a little. I mean, the eyes, they've got those intense, like, piercing stare.
Well, they picked an angle where they're both kind of looking the same.
Probably
kind of
the
like
same photos, but the eyes are definitely like, whoa, those kind of look the same. This might work out.
Got that intensity.
I'm down with it.
Yeah, all right. Well, it seems like it's going to be fun. Well, there was a little article about it on film.com. So I'm just going to read a quote. Stanfield would be playing a similar role to the one played by Virginia Madsen in the 1992 original. The original Candyman, Madsen plays a grad student writing a thesis on urban legends who discovers that a local boogeyman, known as the Candyman, is very real and very dangerous. The 1992 film was based on an original short story by Clive Barker and was the first major horror film to feature an iconic villain played by a black actor, which Peele has said made it a landmark film for black representation in the horror genre. However, the original film received some criticism over its handling of race and gender, and race flipping the protagonist seemed like a good way for Peele and DaCosta to address that. So, Moni, does this kind of make your interest in this
I'm
movie?
confused. Is he supposed to play the villain, or is he supposed to play the grad student?
He's supposed to play the grad student.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, see, that's why I was like, wait a minute. They do look like they have that same intense glare, but I think he's supposed to play the person who actually like gets to the bottom of it, which is kind of neat because he's not going to be the damsel in distress running around and all that. But, you know, part of it was that Candyman wanted Ferdinand Madsen's character for himself to come be his victim and kind of be with him. And I'm kind of curious how they're going to do that with this.
Well, I think, you think they'll make it a woman or no, not Candyman. Candy woman?
Well, that's what they said, the gender and role reversal. So they're going to have a white woman as Candyman. Nobody's scared of a white lady unless they met me. So I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty scary. Yardley saw me at Mardi Gras. He's like, I don't know.
It's serious. Now,
do not approach.
Now, we're going to kind of flip the script and we're going to go to television right now in the Child's Play TV series. So Don Mancini's Child's Play TV series finally found a network. It's going to be Sci-Fi with Channel Zero creator Nick and Tosca producing. A quote from the article was basically Mancini giving a few, thoughts here and there about what was going to go on with it. So I'm going to read a quote that came from Deadline.com. Mancini says, "I've long wanted to bring Chucky to television, and Sci-Fi is the perfect network for us. The show will be a fresh take on the franchise, allowing us to explore Chucky's character with the depth that is uniquely afforded by the television series format, while staying true to the original vision that has terrorized audiences for over 3 decades." Excuse me. So, for me, isn't Sci-Fi known to cancel shows after 1 or 2 seasons, regardless of,
How much Chucky do we need? We're getting the new movie. Do we need this? And Sci-Fi, they say, is a perfect network for them. That's great. Sci-Fi to me, I'm sorry, often is cheap and cheesy. What do y'all think about this?
I'm excited about the Channel Zero creator because actually that is a good series. I watch it on Shudder. I don't watch it on Sci-Fi. I didn't even know it existed on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, I think it was original to Sci-Fi,
which,
correctly.
Sure. The first one I liked, the first season. Second, I was kind of but I'm giving it another chance. But I think, I agree with you. I'm confused why they would do a movie. Somebody would do is this, so they're doing a movie and a series. Why?
Yeah.
And then
they must exist in 2 different universes also? I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think, well, the movie that's going to come out I think it's kind of it's going to be its own thing.
Okay.
I think that the TV series, I don't know if Sci-Fi is a good network for Chucky, just mainly because I don't know if they're going to really go there. Some of the places that these Chucky movies will take you. I think that, maybe, I don't know. But I guess seeing as that they've wanted to do this for a while, I think you kind of have to, take what you can get, I guess. I don't know what other options they had, but
he's
I don't
celebrating the option he got.
Yeah. So maybe they're just
hey, sucking up to his new bosses now. He's like, perfect, all right.
Hey, maybe the strategy is, hey, get it on Sci-Fi. If people like it and it gets canceled or something like that, that might give it an opportunity to get picked up somewhere else, and then maybe they could go for it and do it. I'm personally not interested in seeing it. I don't even have the Sci-Fi channel, but I'm way more excited about the movie. So I'm really jacked up about the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'd probably even. I don't know if I'll even watch it. We'll see. I might give it a shot and go from there.
Well, Somebody please do. I mean, if both of you have sci-fi, I mean, check it out and at least give us the rub,
Yeah.
Well, Christy, tell us about this death party.
It sounds like a fucking real awesome
So
party.
if I'm gonna go out, this would probably be the way I would want to go. My only caveat is when I actually look at the photos of this man that was arrested. He didn't just do it for this party. It looked like he'd been doing meth a while. So, or maybe he was just still fucked up, and then so therefore looks like a meth head. But so this man was arrested. He's 58.
I don't think he has teeth. I would
No,
vote meth
I'm
head
pretty
for life.
sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And you tell me he's 58. He looks like he's like 75. Man 58 is arrested after his ailing wife, 69. Yeah. Anyway, died following a meth-fueled death party that involved hours of sex and heavy metal music after she told him she wanted to die at home instead of a care facility, which I totally get. I would not want to die there either. If I'm going to die, just let me go out with some fucking Quiet Riot, meth, and sex. But it appears like this dude's been doing it a while, so as much as I want to celebrate this, it doesn't look like this is their first rodeo. So, Dwayne Arden Johnson has been arrested. What?
As you were talking about it, I scrolled down, in that picture.
Oh.
It's hilarious. But
he's so happy. I'm like, your wife just died.
Yeah, it's almost like his picture fits everything that just happened. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's...
Yes. The best part is he was arrested for criminal neglect over the death of his wife, which I'm sorry. If she's going to die anyway, I don't feel like that's neglect. She's going to die. If she doesn't want to be at a hospital, that's her choice. It's not... Anyway, I have a problem with that, but... We don't know what was leading up to why she was dying, so, I mean, there could be some shadiness there, but her body was found wrapped in a sheet inside the couple's home. He said that, which I'm just reading what he said. I am not going to read the whole thing. He said that when she died, he bathed her, which this is very sweet, and he washed his wife's body and wrapped her in a sheet like the Bible told him to do.
Okay. But did the Bible also tell him to do meth? I don't...
Well, if you're going to go out, he's like, you're going to go see Jesus, so we might as well just get you ready. But, yeah. So he told the police he checked her out of the nursing home days earlier. Okay, so she was in the nursing home. She wasn't like some meth-fueled trailer park, having a good time, and then her body failed her. So she had been in a nursing home due to some medical complications. And she said she wanted to die at home. He said they took the drugs, were rocking out to metal band Quiet Riot, and had sex in the hours before she died. Then she began to convulse, and he said he kind of held her down, and then she died. So, I mean, I have
kind of sweet
no
in a really fucked up kind of
that.
way.
Yeah, like, okay. And he's thrilled as punch. He's like, she didn't die in a nursing home with a bunch of weirdos and, sterile environment. I took her home and delivered her the way Jesus probably wanted. But anyway, I thought it was very sweet. And the man should not be arrested. Come on. He should not be arrested for that. But,
well, maybe the meth possession charges, but, whatever.
Whatever.
I just keep going back to that photograph now.
He looks... he's definitely got a meth face.
So, who spends 200 G's on a cam girl?
This guy, and have you seen him? I mean, I'm just saying. This guy spent $200,000 on a Bulgarian cam girl, and police say the obsession led to a massacre. Grant Amato had a problem that was ripping his family apart. Outside of the walls of his well-manicured home in rural area of northeast of Orlando, so of course this is fucking Florida, sorry, 29-year-old could have been mistaken for another luckless young man surfing through a bad patch, lost his job, kicked out of school, and living at home. But inside his house, he was allegedly gobbling up money for whatever he could steal. He lifted $150,000 from his parents. His brother lost $60,000 when that was gone. Amato actually stole his brother's guns and sold them. Jesus. He even allegedly took out a $65,000 loan on his parents' house. Well, honestly, though, if your parents have your name on it, that's kind of their fault too. He flung all the money through his internet connection, where it landed more than 5,600 miles away in the Balkans. Since last June, he has been communicating with a Bulgarian woman who has not been identified. Oh, I kind of want to see if she's, worth it. They met on Cam Girls, a live streaming pornographic website, and in 3 months, he had paid more than $200,000 to interact with this woman. His family knew he had stolen the money and knew where it was going. His mom and dad demanded that he enter a porn addiction rehab. Promises were made, contracts got signed, the family drama hit an intense patch, and his brother confided that he was worried that he would kill everybody, and now they believe that he did. He went inside his family home, and they discovered his brother, his mom, and his dad. They were all gunned down in what police described as execution-style shooting. There is no pussy good enough to warrant this much work, I'm just saying.
No.
He's facing police custody on 3 first-degree murder charges, as he should be. And yeah, so good times. I think we have some mental health issues, his attorney says. Yeah, I think that might be a true story. I'm curious about the girl because, I would almost wonder if she was going to market herself, minus the murder part, as like, I'm so good, I'm worth $200,000, I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm almost speechless at how. Yeah, I mean, first of all, to go through those lengths.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And who the fuck is this Cam girl? Like, I really need to know.
I want to see her. Honestly, I do.
Is she that Cam movie? Like that? Is that what they do? Is this what they're talking about? The Cam girls?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, he looks creepy as fuck. So
He does.
I mean, that is a disconcerting face. I can understand why he's living in his parents' basement. And yeah, I don't understand how one does all that just for somebody you saw on an internet cam.
Well, and note to him, she's only pretending to like him because she's in customer service. It doesn't mean that that they're actually friends.
Well, I mean, every stripper, every anything is that way, but they seem to still think that they're special, I guess. I don't know. Like that.
Well, on a lighter note, let's talk about some, kill. So we talked up this show, Kingdom, which came on Netflix. It was released on Friday, January the 25th. So essentially, they're calling it a historical horror supernatural thriller. There's only one season, and it's 6 episodes. And I had an opportunity to check out all 6 episodes over the weekend.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I could hear you pause and drink. I'm like, yep, you're gonna need it.
Well, I'm going to pretty much give a brief synopsis. Since it's a 6-episode season, we obviously can't go through the same format as we do when breaking down movies. So just a general synopsis so our listeners can know what this is about. And there are going to be spoilers as we start talking about what we thought about these episodes. But the synopsis is as follows. The series is set just after the death of a king in Korea's Joseon period, which lasted from about 1400 to 1900. Shortly after his death, a mysterious plague causes the king and a horde of others to rise from their grave, bringing a wave of undead terror to the country. As the series unfolds, we find out that the ambitious minister wants to take over the throne by making the kingdom think his daughter is pregnant by the king, when in reality it's a ruse. The rightful heir is our protagonist, Prince Ji-hoon, who is a bastard child to the king, but the current heir to the throne until his true-born child, of course it has to be a son, is born. The minister keeps the ailing king alive with a mysterious medicine that also seems to have turned him into an undead monster that feeds on human flesh. The disease of their own creation can be spread by the infected by a bite or consumed in food. The series will follow the crown prince as he attempts to survive the sudden outbreak, and survive the bounty on his life by the minister, all while trying to prove that he is the rightful heir to the throne. Now, did y'all have a chance to at least watch a few episodes?
I
I
watched
did.
all of them except for one. I skipped one. Just because of time.
Yeah, I did 1, 2, 5, 6. So.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Well, what we're going to do, we're basically, the characters is basically King Cho. And it's kind of crazy. When I was doing the show notes, there's very little information on any of these Korean actors. But also the information, like from IMDb to Wikipedia, they have the names spelled differently and stuff. And I really got aggravated. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce all of these names. I don't even know if they're correct, and I don't want to really get railed on for not saying all the names. But it's basically it's King Cho, Queen Cho, a guy who's kind of like a regent, Bom Pal. There's the Crown Prince, the Crown Prince's bodyguard, the Crown Prince's childhood mentor, and a mysterious ally. He's a well-trained guy that that's actually a question to the people in the TV series as well. They're wondering where the hell this guy comes from and where he has all of this training. So can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just kind of talk about the zombies and the resurrected people in this series. We find out in the show, because, a lot of TV series, there's a lot of things that you're finding out with the characters, but they kind of stretch it out, of course, over multiple series. So in the first 6 episodes of this first season, we actually got kind of, we found out what the problem is, what's the cause of the problem. We kind of know where the direction is kind of going to go. There are a few things that were left open-ended for the next seasons that are going to come up. But I think for the most part, at least identifying, how the undead are coming back and those things, they're not really a mystery. So we kind of understand that from the beginning. So a rare plant apparently is the source of the infection that can awaken the dead. So they identified the problem, which was the plant, and they also found these medical records from one of the doctors that's in the series that was basically describing what happened to the king and why he was resurrected. So they actually have documentation of, how this thing takes over the body, and they find out, what happens to the king basically through this journal that they find, I think in maybe episode 3 or something like that. So seeing as they know what causes it, and this is something that I really don't think they find out until the last episode, right?
Right.
Was when the nurse finds it in that shrine or whatever.
Yeah.
But I totally thought it was cool, and I wanted to ask y'all, do y'all think this is going to be a thing where, I think the obvious choice would probably say that they're going to try to find the plant and they're going to try to, I don't know, maybe make something to where you don't turn. But what do y'all think about the zombies? I really love it because it kind of reminds me of Train to Busan a little bit, except these zombies are I don't know, they're fast, and the fact that they tuck themselves away and kind of sleep during the day because it affects them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they come out at night. And I think a lot of that kind of helps with the tension because you understand that the protagonist and his crew only have a certain amount of time that they can do things during the day. So were y'all feeling the zombies, or were you feeling how, I don't know, the costumes, the makeup? Do you like zombies that can run and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I like the aggressive zombies, not the ones that are all like slow motion.
Yeah.
I like how they change color, like they look like they're dead. Sometimes when you see zombies on some of these shows, it's like, oh, their skin hanging off. It's a zombie. No, the skin does not stay the color of human skin when you're dead. So I think they do different shapes with the mouth, and I like that. Like the mouth, the teeth are all like chompy. I don't know how to explain it, but and their skin is black, and their eyes are like swollen shut, and they look like I know I can't think of the name of the tribe, but there's they discovered this tribe of mummies in the desert, and it looks like they look like these mummies. Like, they look like them. Like, they're all puffy and black and like they've been, mummified almost. It's interesting. I like it. I think they did a good job with the color of the skin. And it's just, it's gross looking. I mean, they're not. I almost am tired of the generic zombie look of, like we just said, the skin and the bones or the skeleton. It's just there's room to play with that, and they definitely have, and I like it.
Well, I know that Moni has the answer to this. How in the fuck does their hair get matted that quick, though?
Yeah, I don't.
Blood is sticky. Blood dries. It's gross.
In the 90s.
When your ass is chowing on a body and it's blood squirting everywhere, you get a little in your hair, and then you're laying on the ground and sleeping. I mean, I can. Have you guys have clearly not seen me when I wake up in the morning, and I don't even have blood or dirt in my hair.
I have.
You have. My hair's all fucked up, especially when I've been drinking. Like, I totally could play one of these zombies in the morning when I wake up. Throw a little bit of black paint on my face, I'll begin to go.
There you go.
Were you feeling a Moni, or kind of wrote?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I think it's also a little bit you mentioned in here about this subtle message with the politics, the rich and the poor. I kind of almost feel like a lot of times zombies are a little bit meant to represent that, and I think they did that with their look. Is like what no matter what you were in life, you become the poor or the disadvantaged when you are now dead and just searching to eat whatever. And so they kind of make them look like peasants in a way, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question, Yardley. And this might have been answered in the first episode, but I might have missed it because I had a few adult beverages. When when they're eating the soup and then, they find the finger in the soup. Mm-hmm. And remember that?
Yeah.
And okay, so did they turn because a person that they ate was infected, or did they turn because there was the plant in the food? Like, I couldn't make out what caused that.
That actually wasn't something that I was wondering. I just assumed that it was because they were eating, the infected, but I don't know.
Then when I found out that it was a plant, I'm like, well, did they accidentally put the plant in there, or was it because the person must have been infected?
I think the person was infected, though, because one of the things that they did point out was that particular plant, it was very rare, and it was, you remember where it was or whatever in the last episode. But I was just making the assumption that they were eating, an infected person. But as Moni had brought up, there was a subtle message on class disparity between the rich and the poor, when basically you have an unethical regime causing bad things on the populace, because some of the other things that they went into was kind of showing that, all of the wealthy and the kings and the queens, how they were eating and wasting food. Yeah. And they showed them throwing food on the ground. And the men that were protecting them were licking their chops and looking at the food that's on the ground, which is showing that even the people who were protecting them, they weren't even, getting fed, the way that they needed to. And they made those points very subtly. They didn't really, they didn't keep on with it, but you kind of understood as you were watching to show that, hey, the king, they just really don't, they really don't care. So the other thing that's kind of political is the royal deception that's going on, in the kingdom here. Mm-hmm. And there's a conspiracy where basically the true heir is the bastard hero in the story. And
Jon Snow.
Yeah. And the queen's child is pretty much like a little, it looks like one of those little pouches. What do we used to call the things you used to wear around your waist?
Pregnancy pillows or whatever.
Yeah, it looked like one of those. So we find out that she was faking the pregnancy. And essentially what they're trying to do is get rid of the crown prince and have this ruse with the baby. And I think we found out maybe in episode 4, I'm going to make the assumption that the baby that the woman delivered and we saw her cleaning up, I guess they might have killed the mother or whatever. I think they're going to take that baby, and that's going to be the one that they're going to clean to.
Agreed.
it seems pretty, obvious that's what's going down. But, as far as the characters are concerned, though, what did you think about the guy who's playing? We're just going to say the bastard son. The prince, the crown prince. Were y'all really feeling that actor and how they were portraying the character? Now, I know that they were translating the thing into English, so, it makes it seem a little bit, maybe off.
It's hard for me with the acting to judge it just because of that reason is like, obviously we're getting a translation. I thought his struggle, though, as far as like trying to be honorable and be the crown prince, but also do what he needs to make sure he survives, is kind of an interesting. I mean, it's something we've seen before in other stories, but I still think it's an interesting, intriguing reason to follow him.
Yeah, and no matter his relationship with his dad, he is worried about his dad. Like, he genuinely was concerned when his dad, was rumored to be ill, and is trying to do what he can to check on him. And of course, they're making it out like, oh, you only care about yourself. But no, I mean, I think there was like genuine concern there, and there still is. And now he's reliving and seeing these zombies, knowing that's what his dad is now. And I think that's a really tough pill to swallow for him.
And they checked a lot of boxes in this TV series. You kind of had the mustache twirling, like henchman, where, you know what I mean? You had that person who was just an asshole all the way through the first, for most of the episodes. And then you had the cool bodyguard. I think my favorite character is probably the bodyguard guy, because, he's taking it in with the prince. And also, I think that one of the journeys of the prince is going to be, he's kind of a highborn guy. I think his interaction or his purpose being around this down-to-earth bodyguard and going through this experience is going to make him more of a personable ruler. And a lot of these people who he's helping, if they even survive, a lot of these people are going to kind of remember these deeds. And I think that might play out a little bit later in the series, where that there's going to be a conflict once the crown prince finds out, what's going on with the conspiracy. I think he'll have a lot of people, if there are any alive, I have to point that out again, that would definitely back him in his quest, to rule the kingdom. But we saw that they were literally building up walls and like closing off areas to kind of contain it. I'm wondering in season 2, are we going to be introduced to, other kingdoms around and, how it's affecting other people? Right. But I'm kind of excited. I mean, did y'all kind of feel excited about if this gets a lot of viewers? Netflix could be lying like fuck about, how many people are watching their thing. Yeah. But if it is popular, do you think they might get a little bit more cheddar put behind it? And are you interested to kind of see how this plays out?
Well, do you think, is this something that's going on and they've pulled it over, or is this a Netflix show?
It's a Netflix show, and they've already announced there's a season 2. So,
okay.
Yeah, they did that before it came out.
I was surprisingly, at the end, very interested in what was going on. It took me a little bit of time, and I think, honestly, there's a lot of, cheesiness sometimes to the acting that I don't personally like, but I also think that's kind of a cultural thing.
Translation.
They're having to, and there's only 2 voices of the men talking.
Yeah, that's
so
helpful,
you think
right?
the same person's talking, but it's a different person, which I completely understand why you're not going to hire, 40 people to talk, over and dub the words. So I understand why they do it that way, but it is kind of confusing for me because I had a hard time a little bit following who was who. And I did go back in at times and read your rundown to kind of get through that, because you kind of gave me a little bit of descriptions of what's going on and who is who. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay. So, but once I got past that, I really got into the drama of it and this crown prince. And I think this was another thing that always fascinates me with history, because the time that we live in now, this would never happen. But the fact that he's traveling to all these villages and they don't know who he is, unless they know him or they've seen this rudimentary wanted drawing of him, he can go under the radar and he's actually the crown prince. And people don't know, because back then, you know, you were ruled by people that you didn't even know what they looked like. Can you imagine?
Exactly.
Can you imagine what that feels like? That must be so weird.
Well, remember, they also he had this thing that he carried around, this little marker or something, this royal. You remember that little bar that he would throw on the ground?
Yeah.
That had the tassels on it. So I think that was kind of like the ID. But you're absolutely right, Christy. That is the weirdest thing. We kind of, you know, now we have instant information.
Oh, we see them too much.
We can get it. But you're right. It's like you probably would have to think that, you know, the overwhelming majority of a population would have never even come in close proximity to royalty.
Think about if Prince William was accused of whatever the fuck this guy was accused of, and like escaped and went on the lam, like he'd be caught in like 5 seconds. There's no way he could hide, you know, unless he did the Saddam Hussein cave thing, you know. There's really you can't just walk around people. I mean, these people a lot of them didn't know who he was. They just assumed he's just some dude, you know. I mean, he's got nice clothes, but that doesn't mean he's the prince. So it was just an interesting way to think about. These people are being run by a dynasty, and they don't even know what these people look like or who they are or what's even going on. They don't know, you know, is this king dead? Is he not? Like the information and how long it takes for information to reach people, or if it even ever does, is just so fascinating to me. I just find it, like, can you even imagine? Like, I remember at the beginning of America, you know, the presidents, like, all we have are paintings and you damn well that they don't look like that. They were being generous to these guys, probably, you know? I mean, didn't they say one of them had like wooden teeth? Like, I just find this interesting that back at the beginning of our birth, of our country and all these countries, like, they did not know what these people look like or what they did or what they stood for. It's just very bizarre.
Yeah, and I also, you know, we got to give props, like, once again, to the costume and the visuals, you know, the look of it. I thought that, you know, I don't think the budget was ridiculous for it, but a lot of the shots, especially the overhead shots, and when you're showing those trees in autumn, it looked pretty dope. So at least I definitely have to say that the costume department and a lot of their cameramen really kicked ass on this series. I definitely look forward to seeing more of this. And I mean, you've got swords and you've got the undead, you know what I mean? And then you have the time period, which is another thing that makes it kind of unique. I do feel I was feeling, you know, everybody knows I jumped off the, you know, the Walking Dead bandwagon years ago, but I kind of like this fresh take, and mainly because I think that this series knows what it is and knows where it's going. Unlike The Walking Dead, it's not really that open ended. But there was another character on here that I liked before we wrap up this review. It was the woman who played the nurse. You know, I don't know if y'all have seen that movie Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, Christy, you remember, you know, the Asian, I think it was like they were clones or something like that.
Yeah.
That love story.
Yep.
Yeah. And she was the one who played that clone.
Okay.
And yeah, and I was like, I know I recognize her. And then I looked her up, and yeah, she's been in you know, a handful of American features, but yeah, I just couldn't put my finger on who she was. She looked so homely, you know, in this series.
Yes.
And she's the exact opposite, you know.
So here's my question.
Cloud Atlas.
Do you think that, and here's what I think, just because there's just foreshadowing that I'm not ignoring, that the prince will hook up with the lady that's looking for the root, like the plant.
Yeah, you know, and it's because, you know, the subplot is the other guy chasing after her.
Yeah, who she has zero interest in. Like,
he's
a coward. She doesn't really like him, but she's always coming, which is normal for a person to come to the defense of the crown prince. But it just seems like there's just something there that I'm like, they're gonna hook up.
Yeah, do you buy that, Moni?
they're going to hook. I'm sorry. Go back on that last part.
Well, we were wondering, and Christy and I were wondering. Christy's kind of feeling like the nurse who found the rare plant.
Yeah.
She was the one that was taking care of everybody.
Yeah.
She's feeling like she's going to end up being the one with the crown prince. I kind of feel like, because you have that guy chasing her, but I agree with Christy. There are subtle things where you're like, I kind of think she kind of likes the crown prince, but you know that that's never going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, because he's royalty, and I just don't know if they would go there.
That's why it's true love. It transcends all. I mean, it would be super cheesy if they did it. But
if he defeats the Empire and gets rid of the shit that's going on right now,
he can do whatever he wants.
He can just invent her with whatever that. I mean, nobody knows who the fuck anybody is. There, he could say she's the crown princess from whoever, and they'd be like, okay, she's the crown princess from whoever, and bring her in. You know,
good to be changed.
Or she's the savior who found the plant who caused like the cure. Like, I think that would be for the country.
Yeah,
like, okay, we'll ignore that. Yeah, that she doesn't know, she's not of royal blood. She saved our lives. So sure, you do that. You do you, buddy.
I mean, I highly doubt that they don't use an opportunity to bring in another, another female to kind of
like a highborn princess.
Like a conflicting thing, and maybe he tries to get with the highborn person, and then figures, hey, this isn't going to work out, and then maybe he gets with, he gets with the nurse.
When she first came out, when they found her, like looking for the roots and stuff, I immediately was like, well, she looks a little haggard, but she's pretty. I mean, you can still tell. They can put all the fucking makeup they want on her. She's beautiful. I'm like, I think she'll end up. And then whenever he was like, run away with me, that other guy was like, run away with me and escape with me. And she's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, everybody's going to die and you're trying to escape. Like, you're a dick. And he was being disrespectful to the crown prince, and she was coming to his defense. Again, my like spidey senses were like, yep, they are totally gonna end up together.
and also the guy who's chasing after her, I mean, it's like he left her. You remember all of them bailed out on her and everybody else?
Yeah.
He was like, bye.
I don't think.
Yes, I think well, and he's a jester. I mean, the way he acts, it's like, I'm embarrassed for him, Like, he's just like, I found all your plants, here you go. And he gives them to her, and she's like, wow, this is so impressive. This is the biggest collection of weeds I have ever seen. Like, he spent all day pulling these plants thinking they were the plant, but it was just fucking weeds, and throws them at her like he's the savior of the world, and she's just so not impressed. So she's clearly on a higher level than him, and so I feel like she's prince worthy. She's over there in the middle of the night risking her life digging in the ground by herself when there's fucking zombies walking around looking for this root. So I don't know. She prince worthy.
But isn't the idiot the guy who trips over himself? Those tend to be the characters that get a little treat at some point, in the series.
He can get a treat by living, but he ain't gonna get her.
That's true. I definitely would have to draw the line at when he left, though. It's hard for me to believe that you can talk your way back, after that. But so overall, I think as a series for this first season, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for this type of movie, because I know that it has a lot of potential, and and don't get me wrong, there are certain things that I think that they could tweak a little bit more. I want to know more about the bodyguard. I want to know more about his background
his wife is wife is the one that took the kid.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and this goes to show you.
So what the fuck?
Well, to show you how bad things are, as far as when you're talking about class, it's just the fact that he gets bribed over basically having stole, food, from the pantries or whatever of the crown prince. Mm-hmm. That was kind of something that the crown prince was hanging over his head. But for me, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go on this adventure with you, and we're going to do all of this stuff. And all I want you to do is to send some beef to my
pregnant wife. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's, partly he's hanging in there just to basically. Yeah, that's it's rough, but I'm
But
kind of
why
pulling.
was she at the pregnant place? So she took the baby. She's the one that took the baby. So she took the baby to give to the queen. So that's what I want to know, what the fuck's going on. Wasn't that his wife? Because
No,
whose wife
no.
is that then? Because
The
she
woman
said
who
that she was married to the guy who guards the crown prince, I thought she said. No?
No, she was. I mean, she was married, but the woman who delivered the baby wasn't her.
Yeah, but she was there and she was feeding them. Oh, so that wasn't her though that did I missed that. I thought that was her.
No, it was somebody different.
So one of the girls, so there's a home, I'm sorry, let's explain it really quick. There's a home that is for pregnant women that don't have husbands, I'm assuming is what the situation is. And you see them eating and they're like chowing down and I'm like, oh no, they have the plant. But no, that didn't happen. I'm thinking somebody's trying to make an army of zombies because now they're feeding these women with pregnancy. But no, that's not what ended up happening. And the wife of the crown prince bodyguard who we're talking about that Yardley likes is there feeding them because she's pregnant. And he's like, entertain yourself, go do something, like go, find a hobby. So that's what she does, is she goes to this home of unwedded mothers that are pregnant. And so one of them starts to give birth. And of course there's mysterious circumstances. And that gets the baby was crying and all the other pregnant mothers were could hear outside going, yay, yay. So the baby's crying. Everything's fine. Yay. And then it gets quiet and you see them cleaning up blood. And I'm like, oh no, it was like a zombie baby. What's going on? But then a girl comes up and says, oh, she's fine. They're breastfeeding. And then they ask her, what was the sex of the baby? And she says, it's a girl. Mm-hmm. And so to Yardley's point, we think it's for the princess or the queen who is supposed to be pregnant, but she's not really pregnant. And so they went to this house of unwedded mothers and probably took her baby and killed her. And it was probably a boy because she's got to have a boy to...
Yeah.
to take any claim to the throne. And I thought that was his wife, but it's not.
No, the woman who delivered the baby and the woman who came through the door and said it was a girl was the same woman, but it was not the woman who is the bodyguard's wife.
Oh, okay. Thank God, because I was like, what? But the bodyguard is a good guy because they also said you have a mole in your group. Remember when he went and he's like, there's a mole in your group, so you can't tell anybody what the information I'm telling you to the crown prince. And I'm like, his bodyguard must be a mole because his wife is in that freaking place stealing the baby of that lady to give to the queen. Like I was freaking out.
Well, hey, it could turn out, because I'm definitely gonna, rewatch at least the last 2 or 3 episodes. I'm gonna rewatch it, and if I'm wrong, we'll
please
make sure
tell me because I was freaking
out.
I was throwing popcorn. I was pissed. I'm like, no, he's supposed to be a good guy. Make one guy good, players.
Now, also, I definitely want to hear Moni's opinion on this. I get some of these shots are really dope and, nice cinematic poses and all of this stuff. But that one, the first woman who gets killed by the undead, how she's standing up and they're climbing over each other to get to her. I'm like, for real? Because you better believe you'd see tears, spit.
Yeah.
Everything else of me trying to
She looks like she's in an orgy.
Yeah. Her head's back, her throat's exposed. She's like, yes. Bring more zombies.
It did. It looked kind of sexual.
Eat me, baby.
I guess
me.
that was supposed to be the point. I don't know.
But
China.
It set the tone. I was just like, this is going to be interesting.
I'll tell you what, Korea knows how to do zombies, but
She looked like when you put like a sugar cube or like something up high for like a gerbil or something to eat in a cage, and it has to like kind of like climb up. Like everything was like climbing up, trying to get to her, like drawing all the ants in or something. I don't know. It was super weird.
Yeah,
now, I mean, well, what do you give it? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank it, Moni?
Oh, it's not really my thing. I think it's well done. The story is more interesting to me than the execution thus far, but it is a little bit like, I don't know, like kung fu meets zombies for me. I think that's more the having to do the translations and all that stuff and the acting. But I would give it 6.5 or 7 out of 10.
Okay. What about you, Christy?
What you said, 8? Okay, I mean, I'll give it a 7.5. I'm interested. Like I watched the first one. It took me a little bit with the first one to really get into it. And then I watched the second one because Netflix just plays that shit, whether you want to or not. You're just like, oh, I'm just looking at my phone for 5 seconds, and all of a sudden the new one plays. So I started accidentally watching it again, and got into it after that. It interested me, and so then I think what really interests me is the Crown Prince and his dilemma of what's going on. It really does remind me a lot of the Tudors and a lot of dynasty situations regarding like that, like what he's, whatever the hell, he's gone, he can't claim the throne and all this shit. So, yeah, I'm interested in it. I think I'm definitely going to check out the next season. And I really hate any kind of dubbing or reading, but I don't mind it. And once I've finally figured out who all the characters are, I can understand that the same voice is still, the different people. So I'm totally down with it. I like it. I definitely would give it a 7.5 or an 8 for sure.
Awesome. Well, it seems like all of us can agree. Hopefully, it steps up a little bit more in the second season. However, I think that they've got something here, and I'm probably more interested in figuring out how the Crown Prince is going to undo this conspiracy. I'm more interested in that than I think of them finding like a cure or being able to keep themselves from turning or whatever. I like the political aspect of it. And, look, we might not have done this review as much justice. I know that I'm like on cough syrup and whiskey right now. So I know that there's probably a few spots where I might have not muted.
Can I just say my favorite part of the whole series is when they were in the brush, when they were those village people were supposed to take them to the bodies of the boats, and they are actually taking them to kill them for noticing, of course, that they had robbed these people too. And then you see his the guy that basically raised him, I guess that you would say. What would you call his title? So that he comes to the rescue at the end, like when all these people come out of the ground, and
it was like his mentor or something like that.
Yeah, like a mentor, like when he was a kid, had taken care of him and then turned him over to the king to go through what he needed to do, and during all of that, his protector, who Yardley likes, is like, you can't trust anybody here. Like, no. And then the the king's guards come in, and you don't know what's going to happen. They're all in this courtyard. And the question is, how is the person that raised him going to react to the king's guards? Are they going to be on the king's guard side, who wants the crown prince dead? Or are they going to believe the Crown Prince? And
well, first of all, you just slid into Game of Thrones calling them the King's Guard. I don't know where.
Whatever they're called. I mean, the guard, the King's Guard. They called them the King's Guard.
They called them the King's Guard?
Yeah, they said the King's Army. King's Army, not King's Guard. King's Army is there. And so they're like, he needs to come with us. He's supposed to die. He has caused treason and whatever. And they're like, what's going to happen? Like, is he, the guy, the mentor guy, going to believe them, or is he going to believe the crown prince? And that's the question. And that was the crown prince guard question, is who can we trust here? Are they going to believe them or you? And of course, all of a sudden, these people stand up on the rooftops and kill the entire group of the king's army. And say, you're full of shit, and you fucking, trying to take his rightful place. So that was my favorite part of the whole series. I was like on my feet going, yes, yes. It was awesome because that was the thing. He's like, you can't trust anybody here. You can't trust anybody here. And the prince was like, you don't understand. This person knows me, and he grew up with me, and he raised me, and blah, blah, blah. But the guy, of course, trying to protect him, is like, no, you can't trust him. And then the king's army shows up and is like, hand him to me so that we can, give him the justice. And they're like, nope. And he killed them all. And I was like, yes. And then they did everything he said. He became like the freaking prince of the village. It was awesome. So that was my favorite part, for sure.
Yeah, I can co-sign that. That was definitely one of the great moments. That you also mentioned the, when those whatever peasants were going to kill them when they were trying to see where the bodies were, and also the other things that were looted from the ship. And I think probably in the first part, even though I said it was just kind of weird and kind of cheesy, definitely the first undead attack on that young lady. That just looking at it's kind of cool, but it's kind of
trying to grab you and get you to watch more. Probably. But here's what makes my heart hurt. Because, come on, now, if you're looting a ship and you're a, cold-hearted asshole, I mean, they buried the dead. Come on. They didn't know they were undead. But, my heart goes out to them. They were hungry. They're like, we're in the money. These people are dead. So we're just going to take what they have. Really? That's punishable by death? Get the fuck out of here,
Absolutely. Yeah,
that pissed me off.
Well, I agreed with them. I was like, I would have thought the same thing. It's like, if you're going to kill me for eating this pig, I might as well kill you.
I'm fucking hungry. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And then they were all wearing the clothes, and they had all this stuff, and then, this is my village's stuff. Well, they fucking died. So let them have it. They buried your dead people. All those fucking dead people rose from the grave. Dude, every time I see a show where they bury dead people, I'm like, that's a lot of work. You've earned whatever the fuck you can get from burying somebody like that. I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, also the Crown Prince got a lesson in reality about, the haves and the have-nots. The fact that they were willing to kill him over food because they, you know what I mean?
Well, sure, because they're like, we didn't even know what you looked like until today, and you show up and you think you can, boss our shit around? Well, exactly. If you die, who's going to know? Really? We're going to take the chance. So get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. When I saw that part, I was like, that pissed me off. That's bullshit. Come on.
Well, I think we pretty much said everything that we could pretty much say in this shit show of a review.
Well, no, it was good. It's worth a watch. It really is.
I don't know if I want to re-listen. I think I sound like crap, but
no, you're fine.
Tell us about the Seattle Ghost Adventures that you're going to talk about on the next show.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of write it out and go over it on the next show, but shout out in Seattle. They have great ghost history in general, and holy shit, their Pioneer Square is very, very much a library lobby with the patronage that you encounter. So shout out to our tour guide for dealing with that and being such a professional and being able to tell such rad stories out there. It was cold, it was fun, and I definitely had a ghost encounter. If you haven't seen it on our Facebook page, I shared it in our stories. You can follow me on Twitter and see the story as well. If not, you can wait and hear me tell it next week. Also, I would like us to do next week is Super Bowl, and we will be recording the day of Super Bowl because we are that dedicated to y'all. And I would like to talk about some of the brutality and the history of sports. And I think it would be a good time. I know we really enjoyed going through as hosts some of the pop culture things that we're watching, reading, listening to in this space, and give you guys some recommendations and some things to skip. So I think that'll be a good time for all of us to do that, is kind of have a softball, haha, no pun intended, with the balls for Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm going to watch the second episode of I Am the Night, which of course stars Chris Pine and revolves around some tangential stories in the Black Dahlia case. The first episode was not that impressive to me, but it ended exciting, and I'm hoping that it'll pick up in the second episode, so I will give more information on that. If you guys get a chance to watch, it does come on TNT. I'm not sure. I think it's Monday nights. I'm not sure what time because I've been watching it on demand. But should check it out. It is interesting with all the Black Dahlia stuff we talked about. It's got a lot of racial issues that I hadn't realized, that the daughter of Hodel, who again might be the Black Dahlia killer, is actually a half Black young lady herself. So she's growing up in a time where that's even harder than it is today. And so that makes it really an interesting backstory as well.
Oh, well, I look forward to that. And I guess we should go ahead and give our listeners our social media handles. You can find me on Twitter at militant_marker. Moni, how can they follow you?
I am Twitter at Rebel Moni and Instagram at Moni Bear.
Christy, how can they get at you?
You can find me on Instagram at Creepin' It Christy, and then on Twitter at Creepin_It or the Creepin' It Real Show. You can search either one.
That's what's up. So until next time, listeners, keep it real.
若是你在三国，你是周瑜还是诸葛？若是你在三国，谁的谋略